Hey YouTube, listen, I've got some exciting news for all of you, especially those of you who are big into British literature. It turns out that Disney has purchased all of the rights to Jane Austen's classic works. And they're going to be producing a bunch of sequel stories, if you will, to these classic beloved novels like Pride and Prejudice. And so the juicy news here is that the sequel that Disney is going to be writing to Pride and Prejudice is going to have some amazing twists and turns. It is not going to be the way that you expected. And it turns out that Darcy has gotten one of the maids in his mansion pregnant, and so he divorces Elizabeth, who leaves in shame and lives out the rest of her days dejected and in poverty alone. And then it turns out that her mother, Elizabeth's mother, Mrs. Bennet, becomes deathly ill. Her father, Mr. Bennet, cannot pay for the medical bills and hangs himself in shame. Lady Catherine, she sells off her entire estate and takes vows and joins a convent. So there's a lot of twists and turns. It's all risky. It's all new. It's all pushing Pride and Prejudice in a totally new direction where anything is possible. It's subversive, and it will subvert your expectations. It's intellectual. And it's going to open up a lot of stories, you know, where if it's going to move forward, these things have to happen. And if you've seen The Last Jedi, now you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so I've been seeing a lot of damage control articles being pumped out from Disney, from you know, various outlets about why everyone is wrong. And so I just wanted to address in this video a couple of things, if I can, because I came across these quotes. One of them is a quote. This is a quote from Rian Johnson regarding some of his decisions in this film, and I'll read it here. Quote, "Snoke's fate came entirely out of Kylo's arc. And realizing that in this movie, the most interesting thing to me was for Kylo to be ascendant, to start by knocking the shaky foundation out from Kylo's feet and then building him back up into a complicated but credible villain by the end of it." I'll stop reading there. Okay, so I don't see that here in this film. If that was the goal that was set out in writing it, I don't see that was achieved here. I will read another sentence here. It says, "Once I landed on that, it became evident that, okay, what is Snoke's place in this if I build Kylo up to that point? The most interesting thing to carry into the next movie is Kylo running things, not any echo of the emperor/pupil relationship." So basically he's saying the reason he offed Snoke like a punk with no backstory or, you know, any further description of Snoke's relationship with the First Order, how he was running things, he just went, you know, lazily cut and pasted a bunch of assumptions from how things have been done in previous movies that we're supposed to be making here, and then kills him to make his goal, stated goal, of making Kylo ascendant and a credible villain. I would just like to make the observation here that Kylo in this movie was more of an emotional wreck and unstable than he was in the first movie. And look, I get it. I mean, there's some aspects to this character we're wanting to see this conflict that really drives this character. And I want to say that the actor Adam Driver, he's great in the role. I don't lay anything here at his feet. What I'm saying is that Rian Johnson, as the writer-director of this film, didn't even accomplish his stated goals, which he's now having to defend because everybody's like, whoa, wait a minute, where did you take this thing? It's as if you're starting from scratch here, and nothing is relevant. So, to the Kylo, Ascendant Kylo statement, if Kylo had been ascendant in this film, then when he had the opportunity to confront Luke Skywalker, what would Darth Vader have done? Take an example from A New Hope. Darth Vader senses the presence of his mentor, and what does he do? He goes off alone to go hunt him down and confront face to face, mano a mano, Obi-Wan, to take him down. That's what an ascendant villain does. That's what someone who's in command does. But that's not what Kylo does here in this film. Even after he kills Snoke and assumes command, what does he do? He chases down the remnants of the resistance. Luke shows up, supposedly, and he's raving. Kylo is raving, "Fire all guns on that man!" You know, he's just he's not ascendant. What an ascendant supreme leader would have done would have been hold your position. I'll handle this, and gone down there to face off with him and show who is ascendant and who is the supreme leader. So we didn't get that. We got, and that was even subverted. So his goal of making Kylo ascendant, I'm making my case here, is that it wasn't met in his reasoning for offing Snoke and disregarding the entire storyline or developing any sort of explanation or further explanation of what this First Order is and how they've managed to do everything that they've managed to do in this film. He just skips through all of that and focuses in on Kylo. And then, rather than actually have him be ascendant, which is the claim here, he has him raving, unstable, you know, shaking with rage, and in the scene. And why does he do that? So that this is the reason why, so that we can see Luke Skywalker do this. It was just for a screen effect. This isn't the deep work of drilling down into character, you know, and to why people do what they do. These are over and over again. We just see we're being told in all this damage control articles that to subvert our expectations is somehow the new artsy way of telling a story. That's not good storytelling if all you're doing every time you turn around is playing gotcha. And look, Luke Skywalker doing this, I don't know, just didn't seem like Luke Skywalker to me. There was a lot about Luke Skywalker and the way that he was written that just didn't seem like Luke Skywalker to me, which brings me to another point here and another quote from Rian Johnson. So bear with me, I'm looking this up. And here's a quote where he's talking about all of this backlash, Rian Johnson is, and he says, I don't take it personally if a fan reacts negatively and lashes out on Twitter. That's fine. It's my job to be there for that. Like you said, every fan has a list of stuff they want a Star Wars movie to be, and they don't want a Star Wars movie to be. You're going to find very few fans out there whose lists line up. So Rian Johnson's, you know, deflection here is, look, there's this vast spectrum of all the stuff that Star Wars, you know, fans say that they want. Excuse me. That Star Wars fans claim that they want. right? And no two fans are going to agree on the same thing. You know, some fans are, you know, ranting and raving that, you know, they want, I don't know what, Chewbacca to shave off all his hair. Some fans want, you know, the porgs to be purple, or, you know, whatever. That there's this vast spectrum of everything that fans do or don't want, and you're not even going to find anything that lines up, and you just can't please everybody. That is total deflection, and I would venture to argue here. And if you agree or disagree with me, you know, feel free to post in the comments below. But the one central thing that was missed in this film, the one thing that the fan base that has been there for decades, that is the reason why Star Wars is still here 40-some years later. That the expectation that the fans were going in to watch this movie was one thing, and that was to watch Luke Skywalker be a mentor to someone else, to the new heroes that are being introduced. That was the one thing we were coming to watch, and that was the thing that wasn't there. It's like this: if you miss the main thing, all the other problems become bigger. If you hit the main thing, if you nail it right on the head and you get it right, the main thing, then the other problems kind of, you know, they disappear. I really don't think there would be nearly the extent of conversation and animosity, you know, expressed, disappointment that's being expressed about this film, if that one element had been nailed. Can I just make a metaphor here? Let's say you're going to a wedding, right? It's a big, exciting event. You see the bride and the groom up there. They look beautiful. They make their vows. It all goes off, you know, successfully. But you know, the flower girl, you know, she dropped her basket of flowers, and maybe the singer who was supposed to sing the special song in the ceremony, maybe on one of the notes, you know, they weren't quite there on pitch. You go to the reception, and maybe the DJ's, you know, not got a good selection of songs at the reception or something. But you know what? You're still excited. You're still happy. You're still thrilled. The family is all smiling. Because why? Because the bride and the groom, you know, made their vows. They're happy. They're together. The main piece of the celebration has happened successfully. But let's say you go to a wedding and, oh my gosh, everything looks perfect. The lighting is perfect. Every note that is sung is on pitch and perfectly executed. The food at the reception is you know, 5-star cuisine. Everything is perfect. But when it's time to make the vows, the groom looks at the bride and says, yeah, you know what? I'm kind of having second thoughts about this whole thing, and I don't think I'm ready to go through with this. And then the bride says to the groom, yeah, you know, I discovered last night that the man that I'm really in love with is the best man, and we've already talked about running away together, so I'm so relieved that you said you don't love me, and let's just, you know, call this off. I mean, would anybody be talking about the lighting or the food or anything else that happened at this wedding? No, they're going to be talking about the train wreck at the center of this wedding, which was the bride and the groom totally fell apart. And this is the train wreck, in my opinion, at the center of this film, is that the main piece that everyone was coming to watch wasn't there. And that was that Luke Skywalker take on the role of the Obi-Wan Kenobi or the Yoda or whatever, the mentors that he was given and that we've seen over, you know, in these Star Wars stories, that the young new hero has some mentor who imparts to them some important knowledge, some important sense of destiny and purpose, something that they can latch onto that carries them through their arc and helps them to accomplish and become everything that they were destined to become. And that central piece was missing in this film. Actually, quite the opposite. happened in this film. And that is, you have a Rey who shows up, who literally, you know, hands him the lightsaber and says, I just need someone to show me my place in all of this. She's begging for him to be a mentor to her. And that is taken from the character of Luke Skywalker in this film. That should have been his place. Look, no one expects Luke Skywalker to live forever. No one expects him to always be the swashbuckling, you know, hero. But he has a new role, or was, I think that was the anticipation, my anticipation, and I think the anticipation of the majority of the fan base that is disappointed in what Rian has done with this film. And that is, he has taken this central piece and subverted it. And I think that's why we see these quotes from Mark Hamill, who says, I disagreed with what he was doing. This was the miss. This was the central piece. And so to whatever degree that resonates with you, I guess, you know, like the video or share it or whatever. I just, you know, I just hate to see that this sort of deflection and dismissal of everyone's expectation. I don't know how Rian missed this central piece in the relationship that was supposed to occur between Luke and Rey. I do have some thoughts of what I wished, or ideas that might have played out in the scene. I'll do those in another video. This one's already going too long. But if that resonates with you, you know, or doesn't, whatever, share something in the comments below. Thanks.